Sweet Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. This podcast is part of our continuing outreach efforts, and the format is conversation. We're having conversations with businesses, professionals, entrepreneurs, community agencies, and in all cases, difference makers. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So subscribe today. Take 20 minutes and hear from people living in your community who are making a difference in your community. It's time to get started with Sweet Talk. Hello, everyone. This is Jason Batalden with Continuing Education Workforce Training. I'm the Assistant Director here at ISU. And Paul Dickey, you're on the show today, and you've got so many titles. I don't even remember if I can remember them all.
I can't remember them all either.
Paul, we've been busy.
I'm just glad that one of them is podcast co-host.
Yeah, right. And can we just put a little, I'm going to formally introduce our guest in a minute, but I'm going to set her up a little bit. I'm going to set up our guest. Our guest, I'm not going to mention her name, even though you probably read it on the title and description. Our guest was the very first person that we recorded in the studio it wasn't our first posted episode. It was our first recorded episode. And I remember that day because I think our guest was a bit nervous of what she said yes to. Not because of anything on her end, but she was like, I don't know if these guys really know what they're doing.
Well, I actually rewatched that recorded episode, and it's kind of surprising how much of it's changed because Gary was the host at that time.
Gary was the host.
Interviewed our guest, and I was behind the camera, and you were just the person who coordinated all the behind the scenes stuff.
That's right. And now look at things different. Gary, he still does host shows, and so we're always excited and glad when he does. And we're moved out of the studio, and we're caught up on Zoom, and we've got headsets on and all sorts of fun things.
Yeah.
We've come a long way. So with that being
sound better, I think.
Yeah, I think we do too. So with that all being said, I do want to give the official welcome. We have Stephanie Palagi, the president and CEO of Historic Downtown Pocatello, on the show today. And Stephanie, welcome back to Sweet Talk.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you today.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Was I wrong? Were you a little bit concerned about what you said yes to that first time you walked into the studio?
Yes, absolutely. I have no idea.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm not sure we had an idea what we were doing, but we were just going for it.
Well, now you tell me. You didn't tell me that day.
Well, I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was doing.
I think, okay, we had a plan, Paul, of what we were doing. We had rehearsed that plan. I think for me, I was a little bit nervous of how this thing would all pan out. And so I was so relieved when we got done with that episode, and it worked out exactly how we planned it would. So
yeah,
I was pretty relieved too, by the way.
Stephanie, we had reviewed that footage earlier, and I was saying, maybe she's probably going to be way more relaxed because Zoom meetings are such a common thing nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, you've got a lot going on at Historic Downtown Pocatello. But can you first just introduce yourself a little bit? I know that you are well known in the community because of the work and effort you've done with Historic Downtown Pocatello and the many other agencies and development partners that you work with. But just can you give us a quick rundown, and maybe for our new listeners that might want to know a little bit about you?
Sure. So I've worked in the downtown area for 15 years now. Time flies, in case you didn't know that, because I feel like I just got here. I've actually lived in Pocatello my entire life. I've raised 2 kids here, and I have a new grandbaby on the way. So we're super excited about that. My first grandbaby.
Is it your first grandbaby? I'm sorry. I have two and they're both young and I love grandbabies.
Yeah.
I love grandbabies almost more than I love my kids, if that's okay to
Uh,
say.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. I love my kids, and I have to say, I talk about my kids a lot because they were my core volunteers.
Oh, right.
Through so many years, they've been at parades, they've done festivals, they've done street closures, they've helped me with the trolley. I mean, my work downtown is building a neighborhood,
Right
and
on.
building a community, and my family's been part of that.
Right
So
on.
Historic Downtown is near and dear to my heart. Being down here trying to make a difference in our community, economically, artistically, culturally. Downtown is the heart of your community, and I truly believe that Historic Downtown Pocatello is the heart of our community, and we're beating very strongly.
Right on. Well, I think you make an excellent point, right? That a healthy downtown really does not only have a positive effect on the community. I mean, it has a positive effect, but it's important to the overall health of the community. I mean, I don't think you would know this, and I don't mean to say otherwise, but you're absolutely right. Right, the downtown is the heart because that's where the health of the community sort of rests. So
that's been actually an economic development measurement tool that's been used. Is if you have a strong core downtown, you have a strong community and a strong economic base. If your downtown is struggling, then it's a sign your community is struggling. So we're super proud of where downtown is today, how far we've come, and where we've got some fun things and exciting developments coming up.
right. Well, and the big thing, of course, obviously with the holiday season coming up, I know you have some big events, but I think that's kind of one of the things that people enjoy about the historic downtown Pocatello, right? Is there are things to do downtown, even though it might be a little cold out or potential snow out, right? There's a reason to go downtown, especially during that holiday season.
Definitely. So while we love summer downtown with our flower baskets and our outdoor events and our concerts and our food trucks and our wonderful patios in all of our restaurants, and we love to be outside, we don't stop hosting events or having our businesses open throughout the entire winter season. So we really focus on November and December are being those times where we encourage our residents to show their love for local. Shop local, dine local, be local, support local. The people who own our businesses downtown, and I'm sitting with Main Street behind me today, the people who own our businesses are our neighbors. They live here in our community, and they support all the things that we do throughout the year. Baseball teams, soccer teams, every donation drive, Socks for Seniors, the Idaho Food Bank. Our businesses, our property owners contribute to our community. And so the holiday season is a wonderful time to really shop and be local.
Nice.
Right. And I think that you hit the point on again, right? Is the one thing about our local businesses, are they the people we know, and the people who we ask to support us in the things that we do is, schools, kids, all that kind of stuff. So can we I want to come back to the holiday stuff for sure, but, we know that I can't say we're coming out of the pandemic, but we also have to recognize that economically there is work that has to be done. So how has the historic downtown Pocatello survived the pandemic thus far?
I think the one thing that our businesses have been able to do, and we've been able to do, is really pivot into hosting the events that we can host safely, really staying engaged with our community. Although we couldn't do a 4th of July parade last year, we did this year. We've just very safely, very consistently, very methodically determined what can we do, what should we do, how can we keep our businesses open, and that has been the key. Keeping our businesses open and our community safe and healthy. And I'm very proud of our businesses and what we've been able to accomplish. We had parklets that are open now. We have more outdoor dining and seating for our restaurants. We were, through most of the pandemic, still able to do First Friday Art Walk. we from my organizational standpoint, we're really focused on what resources are available to our businesses and our property owners, what resources are available to our community. Try to be that communicator of, everything's okay, we're going to be okay, we're going to make some really hard decisions, but we're going to do what's best. And some of our businesses had a record year last year and this year. We're still just continuing to do everything we can to be safe, to capitalize on, again, shopping local. We did see a little bit of a shift in internet shopping and internet buying. And now that with the shipping delays and some of those things, we're really encouraging folks again, for the same reason, supporting local is always important. But now if you haven't made that shift back from the internet, think about it now, because you're going to be hindered. And you're going to be worrying about some of your shipments actually getting here.
You bring up a good point, because we have been reading in the news that they're predicting delays of shipping for Christmas this season. And I imagine that if you go down to the local stores on Main Street, you walk in and you find the perfect Christmas gift. It's right there. You just have to pick it up, go to the register, purchase it, and you're done. No waiting for your shipment to arrive.
Right. So we're encouraging folks, buy local. Save this. The holiday season is stressful enough. You've got dining, you've got entertaining, you've got family, you've got so many things. Students at ISU are trying to wrap up the semester. There's just so much to think about. Finding the perfect gift shouldn't be hard. Come downtown, walk through our shops. We've really been encouraging folks to get out and stroll up and down throughout the area. There's shops that you haven't seen, I guarantee you, because we've had 17 new businesses open in the last 2 years.
Oh, right on. Right on.
Come down and take a look and find that perfect gift. And most of our shops have free gift wrapping too.
Man, just on a little side note, what a tremendous amount of courage and that must have taken for those business owners to say, okay, we're going to go ahead and continue to push forward. And I guess that speaks a little bit of their confidence in what historic downtown Pocatello has to offer, right? That it didn't scare them off. The pandemic didn't scare them off. That's fantastic.
We had a brewery that opened 2 weeks before.
Oh.
That
Right. That was panicky, right? When they weren't considered essential. I mean, if I remember all the math correctly back then.
We had a lot of curbside, we had a lot of takeout, we had a lot of creativity. We had, folks that were doing curbside the second they could possibly do curbside. We had the governor, Little was here on the day that retail was able to reopen. We were at Molinelli's Jewelers that morning. And I did a Facebook Live walk up and down throughout the west side and the east side of downtown, just showing people, hey, our neighbors, our friends, we're here, we're open, come down and see us.
Going back to that curbside delivery of their products and so forth, were you able, or were you part of that, where you saw examples of how people were doing the curbside business and then were able to share that to the other businesses? Going, I don't know how I'm going to stay open, and you would use the other ones as examples?
Sure. So some of we have an antique store that was doing curbside craft kits for kids that were at home.
Oh yeah, right on.
Fantastic thing to do is, kids were bored, kids needed something to do, parents needed something to do. I have a couple sisters who have little kids at home, and they were like, wow, this is really hard. We need something to do. And so, it was the food, the beverage. So alcohol beverage control with the state of Idaho allowed some of our bars and restaurants to do cocktails to go.
Really?
Yep.
I wish I'd known that.
Really, the creativity and the, virtual hugs on Facebook and the, staying intact. I wrote my column that appears in the Idaho State Journal every week, just that same message. When you can come back out, if you can support anybody, remotely, buy a gift card, visit their website, give them a great review on Facebook. We had to keep that community engagement going.
It's
oh, go ahead,
sorry,
Paul,
Jason.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
I look at it as like a pebble in a pond. If you participate and keep other businesses going, those business owners can then participate and keep other businesses going. And everyone are contributing to everyone in the community. I think, again, if those businesses don't succeed, then they don't have money to spend on the other businesses.
Right. It's that whole trickle down theory that, we all support each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, Paul, it's funny because that was kind of my similar comment, and maybe not even so much a question, but it's interesting, and you probably, I guess that the question would be, Stephanie, I think you probably witnessed that a little bit, was how important community kind of came at this time, right? I mean, wasn't there a joke there for a while? We talked about our pods, right? Our pods as people. We had our pods, intimate family, close family members and friends that became important. But I imagine that same kind of, it sounds like that same sort of mentality was also part of Historic Downtown Pocatello, right? Is hey, wait a minute, we're our own pod down here. We have to work with one another to get this.
Yeah, we have to support each other. Mm-hmm. and do the best we can. I ate out, not out, but I had take out more.
Yeah, right.
than I ever had. And we did that purposely. My family, we did that purposely. We said, okay, who can we support today? And how can we do that? And so, and I know other families and friends of ours that did the exact same thing. Is, it was, what can we do to keep our community going at every level?
So moving forward to like this upcoming Christmas season, is that sense of community? Do you feel, here's me just guessing, kind of a random not off topic, but I'm wondering, when you were talking earlier about the holiday season and this being an important time of year, and now this would be, if I'm not mistaken, the second Christmas, correct? That COVID has had its footprint or fingerprint up on. And I'm just wondering how that will translate out this year, especially with the shipping and especially with some of the, granted internet shopping is convenient, but if you're on some items, you're waiting, 3-6 months. So I'm wondering if maybe this year we might begin to see or feel a little bit more community focus this year. Is that, it sounds like that's kind of what you're pushing for, but do you have any insight as to maybe that's actually what we'll see?
Yeah. Well, first, last year, we didn't do a typical Christmas parade like we usually do. We had Santa down here behind a glass window, selfies with a microphone talking to kids through glass. We had our costume characters that you typically see behind glass. This year, we know so much more about COVID-19, and although we had an immense amount of support last year at Christmas, we learned that we can still do Small Business Saturday. We can still do, shopping on Saturdays and put Santa in the windows instead of in a traditional format. We learned those things and really appreciate and felt the love from our community. This year, like I said, we know more what we're dealing with. We're having a Christmas parade the day after Thanksgiving. Santa called me the other day. There's some things I really love about my job. And when Santa calls and says, "So I'm coming for the parade, right?" And I could say, "Yes. And you're riding the fire truck in a real parade. It's not going to be a static thing. It's a real parade."
Excellent.
So Santa's excited to be here. He'll make his debut on Friday, November 26th. The parade starts at 6:30 p.m. And it's our traditional route from First Street, from the east side of downtown to the west side of downtown, and we'll end at between the Pavilion and Convergys. So
that is excellent.
That Small Business Saturday, we're going to have our characters out and about. We'll have some selfie stations. We'll have activities for the kids. We're really feeling comfortable with outside, fresh air, characters on the sidewalks. We've learned, like I said, we've learned a lot. I don't anticipate having Santa behind glass this year.
Very good. That is exciting. Oh, I bet Santa is stoked.
Oh, he's.
That's a part. It's an important part of this, of being Santa, right? Is having that connection and making sure you hear from the Susies and the Tommies exactly what they're hoping for.
Yeah, and one of the things I didn't want to do last year was put a mask on Santa and have kids remember that about Christmas.
Mhm.
So that's why we used a lot of glass and a lot of selfies and a lot
Yeah.
of, we wanted it to be as traditional and as in person and as memorable as possible. And
Well,
we did it.
yeah. And speaking, the only thing probably I have in common with Santa is the beard. And trust me, the mask just ruins the beard game. There's just no way to keep a good looking beard when you got to put a mask on. So, I don't know what that means, but that's.
Yeah. Kids need to remember what's the good traditional things about Christmas. And that's what we do down here. We keep traditions alive. That Christmas parade's been going for 30 years plus in downtown. We've been celebrating Small Business Saturday as long as I can remember. We always do campaigns throughout the entire holiday season. Last year, we transitioned from just Small Business Saturday to Small Business Month. And so the city of Pocatello proclaims from Black Friday to Christmas Eve, Shop Small Business Month. And so we've transitioned to, we need to have one or two big holiday shopping days to we need to have an entire month of big shopping days down here. And so we're seeing that. We'll host Art Walk on the first Friday of December. We had a great turnout for the November Art Walk, and that's when we really started to kick off the holiday season. So December Art Walk will happen. Last year we did a shop and stroll event. This year, I know Idaho Antique Row is going to have some carolers out on the streets. We're going to bring back more of that traditional outdoor Christmas celebration.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this year Christmas feels more like Christmas.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'd like to see all of my family. Well, as much of my family as I can this year. Yeah. I'd like to all have a big meal and eat lots and catch up on things we haven't had an opportunity to catch up on.
Right. No, I do. That's a great point. I do remember that from last year. Again, I brought up the pods comment though, and we did have our pod and, but even then there was a little bit of anxiety about what this means. And, in part of my pod were my parents who, are in that very vulnerable population. But, this year I think we're all as a family and even a little broader reach into friends, looking forward to a different Christmas experience. So you're absolutely right. We learned a lot. Say that much about the pandemic, boy. I think we've learned a lot, not just health wise and taking care of ourselves wise, but it sounds like kind of what you're talking about is the business of doing business. People have had to learn a lot too in the last year and a half. So
definitely. And the creativity. If there's anything that the other side of the bonus side of all of this is we've certainly learned how to be creative. And sometimes when you've owned a business for a long time or you've done this for a long time, that little need to change is a good thing.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. I don't like change, but you're absolutely right. There is a need to change, and we can learn a lot about ourselves and who we are when we are kind of on that are forced to change. And so it's sometimes being forced to change it annoys us a little bit though, right? Yep. Well, Stephanie, that was the timer. Thank you. I think we do want to just look, I can't tell you just this conversation today has got me excited to get out and truly enjoy the holiday season. It is a holiday season, and there is a lot of special things going on in downtown, not just shopping, which we definitely want you to do, but it's an experience and it can be part of a tradition. And so we want to encourage all of those to support Historic Downtown Pocatello, support Greater Pocatello and your neighbors, the entire community by going out and getting your hot chocolate, your hot cider, and enjoying the cool, brisk November evening and days.
I got two last things. One, when do the lights get hung up on downtown, Stephanie?
Yeah, so they will all be up for the parade. We start decorating about the middle of November. So you'll start seeing lights go up, if not already, some of them are up. That is very important for our our downtown community is all the lights that we have up and our garland and our red bows and
Oh, yeah.
I decorate the pavilion, so I have to get out there and do that too.
Excellent. Excellent. And lastly, if someone wanted to reach out and connect with you, how would they do that?
Facebook, you can Facebook message Historic Downtown Pocatello. You can follow us on Instagram. You can call my office, 208-232-7545. Email us at info@historicdowntownpocatello.com. Stop into the pavilion, 420 North Main. I promise I'm really easy to find. I just have a lot going on.
Excellent. Excellent. Hey, Jason, did you see how that phone number rolled off our tongue like that?
I know. So Stephanie, in the 3 years that we've done the podcast now, you would think that I could still get the phone number down perfect, and I can't still. So it's still sort of a roll of the dice, or whether or not I can get it down. So we'll find out today where that happens. So if you do want to reach us, I'll just go right now. You can call us at 208-282-3372. I got it. You can email us at cetrain@isu.edu, or you can just check out our website at cetrain.isu.edu. And when we say CE Train, that's exactly the letters CE Train, isu.edu.
And if you like this podcast, please hit that like button and subscribe and share. We really want people to share.
Yeah. In fact, Paul, we've been realizing that 3 years that I think this is our first official ask.
Yeah,
so
we never asked.
We're not really good at this podcasting thing, in spite of what we like to believe. So if you like the podcast, please let us know in one of those many different ways you can do that. Stephanie, thank you for being on the show, and truly appreciate it. And you've got me excited for the holiday season. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm looking forward to the lights. We're looking forward to the lights.
Definitely. We'll see you downtown.
Absolutely.
Yes.